Then we have the sources of stress, okay? And by the way, this is one of the easiest chapters to go through. I love this chapter. मैं हमेशा से जो ये चैप्टर है, मैं सबसे पहले ये चैप्टर कर लेती थी somehow, because मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता था ये इस चैप्टर के ऊपर पढ़ाई करना. ओके, सो देन वी हैव द सोर्सेज ऑफ स्ट्रेस कि कहाँ से आता है. पहले हमने टाइप्स किया कि क्या क्या तरीके के होते हैं. अब वी आर गोइंग टू डू व्हाट आर द सोर्सेज ऑफ स्ट्रेस कि वेयर इज द स्ट्रेस कमिंग फ्रॉम. So first is life events. Okay, so life events, जिंदगी में जो stressors है, the daily stressors that we are having, right? So उसमें आता है both big and small, sudden, gradual, okay, whatever is happening in our lives, you know. So we learn to cope with the small everyday changes. But the major life events also, okay, because they disturb our routine and cause the upheaval. So, if several of these life events that are planned or predicted, okay, so planned कैसे होते हैं कि हम एक नया घर ले रहे हैं या हम नई गाड़ी ले रहे हैं, चलो हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी जाना है, तो these are again very much very stressful things. But the unplanned ones, you know, long term relationships में जब ब्रेकअप हो जाता है, किसी की सडनली डेथ हो जाती है, यू नो, सो दीज आर ऑल सडन थिंग्स एंड दीज आर वेरी हार्ट ब्रेकिंग थिंग्स ऑल्सो. ओके, so occur within a short period of time, we find it difficult to cope with these things also. ठीक है. Then we have the hassles, the daily hassles that we have. Okay, these are very personal in life and मतलब बहुत daily में रोज का चलता है ये. जैसे कि आपको noisy surroundings, commuting, quarrelsomes and लड़ाइयाँ झगड़े, पेरेंट्स के बीच में लड़ाई, खुद में लड़ाइयाँ, फ्रेंड्स में ये हो गया, यू नो, आज पानी नहीं आ रहा है, आज सुबह उठी तो लाइनर खराब हो गया काम पे जाने से पहले, या गीजर नहीं चालू किया और ठंडा पानी आ रहा है नहाते हुए. So these are the basic things, okay? These are all the hassles that all of us go through when we are you know, one every day everybody goes through some or the other stressors. Definitely something is just not right that day. एंड कुछ कुछ दिन तो ऐसे होते हैं जहाँ पे पूरा पूरा डे इट्स जस्ट नॉट राइट, इट्स नॉट गोइंग करेक्टली. Okay, so these daily hassles may sometimes have devastating consequences for the individual. Okay, so who is often the one coping alone with them, as others may not be even aware about these kind of stressors. Okay, so the more stress people report as a result of daily hassles, the poorer is the psychological well-being also. Okay, so these are hassles. Let's talk about the traumatic events. Okay, so in traumatic events, these include being involved in a variety of extreme events. Okay, such as fire, of course, fire होता है, natural disasters होते हैं. You know, we have earthquakes also, robberies, and all of these things. The effects of these events may occur after some lapse of time and sometimes persist as symptoms of anxiety. ठीक है, यही है जो हमारे एंजाइटी में कन्वर्ट होके पीटीएसडी का पार्ट बन जाते हैं. ओके, सो as you guys must have already heard this, but it is all anxiety disorder का part is PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. Okay, so severe trauma जब होता है तो हमारे relationships and interpersonal relationships भी strain होने लग जाते हैं. Okay, so severe trauma can also lead to strained relationships, and professional help at that time is very much needed. Okay, so these are all sources of stress. All right. So, what are the effects of stress on psychological functioning on health and health? Okay. So, whenever the stresses are there, so many of the effects are physiological in nature. However, the other changes also occur inside the stressed individuals. Okay. So, there are four major effects of stresses. So, there are four major effects of the stressors. Okay. First is emotional, physiological, cognitive, and behavioral. Emotional, physiological, cognitive, behavioral. Emotional, physiological, cognitive, behavioral. ठीक है. इमोशनल इफेक्ट नंबर वन, उसमें क्या होता है, दोज हु सफर फ्रॉम स्ट्रेसर्स आर फार मोर लाइकली टू एक्सपीरियंस द मूड स्विंग्स. ओके, so how erratic the behavior that may alienate them from the family and the friends. In some cases this can start in a vicious cycle, okay, of decreasing the confidence and leading to more serious emotional problems also. Okay, so some examples क्या है कि हमें suddenly दो feeling of anxiety होती है, depression होता है, increase the physical tension जो होता है ना हमारी body में, जब हमें anxiety होती है कि like we fist our hands and then we talk like this, वैसे, ठीक है, इंक्रीज्ड फिजिकल टेंशन, इंक्रीज्ड साइकोलॉजिकल टेंशंस एंड द मूड स्विंग्स, ठीक है, एंड ये सब होता है हमारा. ओके, so these are all emotional effects that all of us are going through when when we're feeling something, you know, when it's actually starting to affect us in that way. Then we have the physiological effects. The physiological effects are nothing but when the human body is placed under the physical or psychological stress. Okay, so for example जैसे हमारे hormones बदलते हैं. Okay, so like during periods हमारे not only emotional effects होते हैं, girls, ladies या females के PMS भी होता है, right? So उस time पे there is a lot of hormonal changes that are going through. The person is going through a lot of hormonal changes also, and not only physiological but not only emotional but physiological changes are also happening in your body. So adrenaline, cortisol, then dopamine, serotonin levels, वो सारे, ठीक है, तभी बोलते हैं कि यू नो जब हार्ट रेट बढ़ जाती है या बीपी बढ़ जाता है ड्यू टू एंजाइटी, ये सारे आपकी फिजियोलॉजिकल इफेक्ट्स हैं. Okay, then we have, although this is physical reaction will help us to function more effectively when we are under pressure for short period of time. ठीक है, so it is extremely damaging to the body in a longer term. Okay, so for example हमारा release of epinephrine होता है and norepinephrine होता है, slowing down the digestive system, expansion of air passages in the lungs, increase the heart rate and constriction of the blood vessels. ठीक है, तो ये स्टार्ट होता है फ्रॉम एपिनेफ्रीन एंड नॉरएपिनेफ्रीन, जिसकी वजह से वो जो ब्लड वेसल है वो it like carries on. Okay, and one, it carries on, it slows down the digestive system, and not only that, it expansions the air passages. ठीक है, जब आप देखते हो कि आपको ब्लोटिंग बहुत ज्यादा हो रही है, it's because of these reasons. ठीक है, and then in the lungs also the air passages, they kinds of increase, and the heart rate is increased, and then the constriction of the blood vessel. This is nothing but a heart attack that's happening. ठीक है, where there is the air passages have just extended but the blood is not going to the heart. These are all symptoms of a heart attack. Then we have cognitive effects. Okay, so in cognitive effects, if pressures due to stress continue, one may suffer from a mental overload. Okay, so if there is a lot of work that's happening, okay, so for example this week I was in a burnout, honestly, where there is so much on my head. I have to head a place, I have to do it all alone, I have to take classes, I have to take classes of other batches also, and only one person is doing everything. So a lot of burnout is there in my head. So all of these are all stressors that has affected my physiological, cognitive, emotional, and behavioral part also. So in cognition, the suffering from high levels of stresses can repeatedly cause individuals to lose their ability to make sound decisions, because there was so much of stress in my head. Okay, for example, as I said, well, while you know we were while I was doing my job also, so I couldn't take decisions. I like yesterday, honestly, there was no memory that was stored in my head. All the things that was just coming, it was just going like this. It was not like anything was succumbing in my head. I was not able to register it so that it could sustain. That's it. Can you imagine? All of these things were happening. Okay. So faulty decisions you take in your career, in your workplace, in your decisions, then फेलियर होने के चांसेस होते हैं, फाइनेंशियल लॉसेस होने के चांसेस होते हैं, एंड इवन यू लूज योर जॉब्स ऑल्सो समटाइम्स. ओके, सो कॉग्निटिव effects of stressors are poor concentration and reduced short term memory capacity. Then we have last one is the behavioral effects over here. Okay, so behavioral effects is nothing but stress affects our behavior in the form of eating less or eating more. Nutrition of the food is also haywire. Then your increased level of caffeine, then excessive consumptions of cigarettes, okay, or any kind of substances like alcohol or drugs also. Okay, and tranquilizers can be very addictive. Tranquilizers nothing but painkillers. So that day I was teaching a class where painkillers से भी लोग addict हो जाते हैं. ठीक है, so it can be very addictive. So if you guys have watched this series known as This Is Us, there one of the protagonists, he is addicted to the painkiller. Okay, and he gets addicted to the painkiller, and eventually he starts taking alcohol as well, and then he eventually had to go to a rehab. ओके, सो उसकी वजह से क्या होता है कि अ लॉट ऑफ डिजीनेस, लॉस ऑफ कंसंट्रेशन, लॉस ऑफ कंट्रोल ओवर योर ओन बॉडी. Okay, there is mismatched coordination. Some of the typical behavioral effects of stress seen is disrupted sleeping patterns, then increased absenteeism, matlab you're not there in most of the things that you have to be in, and reduced work performance also.